Hello and welcome to another episode of the Amenorrhea Fertility Diaries. In this channel, I will be speaking about health, nutrition, the menstrual cycle, and more specifically about the lack of the menstrual cycle due to hypothalamic amenorrhea, a condition where a normally menstruating woman loses her cycle during more than 3 months due to reasons of undereating, over-exercising, or other types of stress to her body. I invite you to look at my previous videos to get a bit more context about my story and how I got HA and how I got out of it. In this video, I just want to give you 5 very straightforward tips that help me a lot during recovery. It's 5 tips that are related to food, but also not all of them are related to food, but it's really 5 very important golden nuggets that you won't get tired of hearing enough when you are trying to recover. So I'm going to go straight into it, and the first tip I want to give you is to delete any kind of fitness tracking, food tracking app that you have on your phone. Yes, I also mean that you have to delete MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is probably one of, I guess it's the biggest food calorie tracking app that there is out there, but there is a lot of similar applications. And I've been thinking a lot about this because I thought perhaps for some people it could be interesting to keep it if you really suffer from not eating enough, so that you could track not to eat less, but track to make sure that you're hitting enough calories. But after a lot of talking about it and researching a little bit the results with different people's and looking at my own story, I think it's better to just delete them all over. I remind you, it's a temporary thing. For me, it was very exciting in a bad way almost to delete MyFitnessPal because I was so addicted to tracking calories. I had been doing that for years. I tracked every single day, every single thing that I ate. But the first thing I have to say is that it's very difficult to track properly, so I think it's a lot of empty work that people do. And secondly, as I cannot repeat this enough, the things that might be healthy for some people who are trying to lose weight and to get fit are not what we are trying to look for right now. So people with hypothalamic amenorrhea are in a state of calorie deficit generally. You are lacking energy to ovulate, and your body needs to feel safe and fueled in order to do this very energy demanding process that is called ovulation in order to menstruate normally. So it's a little bit like an old engine of an old car. You have to give it a little bit of extra push and try to get it going again. And in this case, you shouldn't restrict anything. And these calorie tracking apps have always this effect on people who are tracking. So there's a few points that I want to speak about here. The thing is, the people that have hypothalamic amenorrhea, I mean, there's a lot of different people. Some of them have very low body mass index, and others have a bit higher than me. I always was in a healthy BMI. I never suffered from an eating disorder either, although it's very common in people that have eating disorder. So there's a lot of different backgrounds, but I think we all have one thing in common, and that is that we do care a lot about our health, sometimes maybe a little bit too much, so we restrict a little bit too much, or at least too much for what your body needs right now, which might be a bit more than what you think that is normal. So this is one thing, and the second thing we have in common is that we're quite perfectionistic and control freak type personality. It's always the case. I mean, at least I haven't met anyone that hasn't got that. On the other side, it's a bit difficult because a lot of women have that. But anyway, the ones that have HA will probably have that. So for these people, I think it's very important also to get a little bit out of that and to let yourself go a bit more and get in tune with your inner hunger cues, especially now, because your body is wiser than anything else and it will tell you what it needs. So for me, I completely freaked out because I came from a background where I thought that I always would overeat. I was worried that I would have no limits if I didn't have a way of counting the calories that I was eating. And tracking the calories made me also kind of eat a little bit less because I knew that I had to put it in the app and everything. So it was a way of restricting. So if you're using it the way I was using it, definitely delete it while you're trying to recover. And I would just recommend you to delete it anyway while you're trying to recover from HA, as I said, because it's all about getting in tune with your own hunger cues and listening to your body. And this is a way of quantifying what you're eating. Also, it might create some fallbacks, into trying to restrict and all of that. So I would say just get it out. funnily enough, looking at the facts, the 2 times that I have had HA and that I've had to recover, I deleted the app, and that was actually the moment when I really could see the progress coming in. It was a bit scary in the beginning. I was feeling like I was kind of counting in my head without putting it in the app, but then after a while I've just completely left it behind, because that's what we do, people, when we don't focus on one thing, then we kind of leave it behind and we just go on with our lives, and that's exactly what you have to do in this case. So I would really encourage you to do that. Also, delete any kind of fitness applications that track your fitness goals. Again, if for some people it might be a great thing, these things that motivate you to go to the gym and to achieve your goals and all of that, which is great for a lot of people. But for the people who have HA, I think it's better to just delete every kind of fitness food-related app that you have out there. I also was using this fasting app because, I was, I came from the background of intermittent fasting, which I think still it's a great tool for a lot of people, but not for us right now. So I deleted that fasting app. And also I would recommend you to unfollow, just temporarily, but unfollow from Instagram or other social media, or even YouTube, on your YouTube account, unfollow all the fitness and diet influencers, people that you were following before, because I'm sure you were following them. And just temporarily don't look at their stuff, don't get their notifications, anything, because I remember a few times when I was committed to recovery and I decided to go all in and not restrict anything. Some of these messages popped up, of the one fitness influencer saying that intermittent fasting is necessary for everyone, or saying how important it is to strength train, which is important, but not for people who are in HA, because we need to rest and recover. So for me, it was important to just swipe it all out so I wouldn't have these influences taking me out of my track. I know it's scary, but anyway, as I say, it's only temporarily. Just do it for a while. Set a time. It always helps to set a time, time range. So to me, I said, okay, I started with 4 weeks. 4 weeks, I'm not going to restrict anything. I'm not going to look at any influences about fasting or keto diets or strength training or cardio or whatever. I'm not going to track in my fitness file, just delete the whole thing. And I'm not going to weigh myself. That's the next one. I wanted to say ditch the scale. I did that, and that really helped. And actually, I haven't got it back because that's such a relieving thing. I always was weighing myself, and it was always that moment after Christmas or after a holiday where I was like, okay, now I have to get on the scale. And I would just get depressed, and that would, during so many years of my life, that has had such a huge influence on me. That number on the scale, it was like an epical thing, and I needed to get back to the weight that I was before, and this and that. And it's just like now I have no idea what I have a little bit of an idea of what I weigh, but just by not seeing that, just by not doing that, it's less and less and less triggering and less and less important in my life. And the same thing happened with my fitness pal. Once I deleted it, now I think like, gosh, all those, if I just counted minutes, all the time that I spent logging food, it's like a long time. I don't know how much, but it could be like hours, in total during years. So I think there's better things to do with your free time, honestly. And I invite you to explore this new way of doing it. And then once you've recovered and you've had your cycle during 3-4 months, and regularly you want to go into it again, then you can see if you want to it. Because I think a lot of people will not even want to go back to it. Because when you're in tune with your body and you're listening to your hunger cues and you've gone over all your little issues that you have, with food, with restriction, you will realize that the body has its own weight set point, and it will kind of fluctuate in there if you take care of yourself, and you don't need all these trackers. As I said, we always want to quantify everything and have everything under control, but it's just not life. And I think it's a better philosophy also to let a little bit go and not want to control everything. So and from within the same point, I also would give you the tip of trying to avoid as much as possible any kind of toxic triggering environments, which could be, I don't know, for me, for example, I was still sometimes going to the gym because, as I said, I like to do some yoga and some gentle strength training every now and then, just to keep, your skeletal muscles strong, because that's something that suffers a lot with when you have HA. your bone density can go down and all that. So I still would go to the gym, but I would try to go like in moments that wasn't too crowded, or I would go in the mornings and go in my corner, do my own little thing, and not really follow classes or going with a group of people that I was always like kind of comparing myself to, because then I would feel like, oh no, I'm left behind, and then that would trigger me and I would want to go back to my own thing. So just try to make a little safe environment for yourself as much as possible. You can never control all the inputs that you're going to get, and the rule in the end is to become strong yourself and not be triggered by these things. But we know how this is, know how difficult this is. Because the story that you've been telling yourself your whole life, that is the healthy way, now suddenly you have to kind of do the opposite thing. And this leads me to the next point. It's like really select within your very close environment. You shouldn't like isolate yourself and not speak about your problem. But I would select the ones that you want to talk about about your HA thing. For example, of course, in my case, it was my boyfriend. I had to, of course, tell him and explain what it is and include him in it. And he's been super supporting. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do it with someone that wasn't supporting. And I sometimes say, like, because he doesn't really follow it all, it's quite counterintuitive what we have to do sometimes. So my mom, it happened the same a few times. I would say like, no, because I'm not exercising, because it's good for me now not to exercise and all that. And they would be, what? But why not? But you should exercise. You always did and you loved it, and that's not healthy. And then I would say like, hey guys, like remind them that is healthy for you, for everybody. It's healthy to exercise. But for me at this moment, I had to tell them it's like I have an injury. And that's something that I would think sometimes when I was a bit like, oh, I'm being too lazy. I need to exercise. I need to diet. I would think like, no, it's like as if I'm sick. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I would think that, when you're sick, you're a bit more gentle to yourself. You allow yourself to have anything you want, and you just rest when you're tired, and you're just actually much more in tune with what your body wants to tell you. So that I would really do. And then other people that weren't that close to me, I would just I wouldn't tell it to anyone. You can do whatever you want, but I think sometimes people, I don't know, I prefer to work on my goals silently. I share it with the people that are very close to me, but I wouldn't just like go and say it everywhere at work and everything, because everybody has their opinions, and then it makes me start doubting again. When people look at me like, what? Not exercising and not dieting? Huh? Is that healthy? That can't be, and then I get triggered again somehow. I don't know, maybe I'm just too easy to influence, but anyway, that is one tip that I would give you, which really, really can have a big influence in you, because those are the little things that are keeping you from recovery, really. And if you try to remove them or handle them as best as possible, then you have the best shot of achieving your goals, which is getting your menstrual cycle back to normality. Then point number 2, I would completely, I've said it a few times, but I cannot say it enough, remove all HIIT training, so high intensity interval training, and remove all high intensity cardio. As you probably know, I love to run and to do cycling, spinning, and all these things. I think HIIT training is amazingly healthy for most of the people, but if you have HA, it's not good, because you will release more cortisol, which is not bad sometimes, to have some kind of hormetic stress. But in this case, we're trying to heal our hormones. We're trying to give our body the message that it's super safe. And that's why we need to avoid any kind of, especially HIIT training or like intervals, for example, or sprints. Runners that do sprints. Sprints are great to gain force, but it really makes your body release cortisol, which again makes it feel unsafe, and for us at this moment is not the best thing. So I wouldn't leave out all kind of movement, but I would leave out those for sure. Recently I was actually thinking about joining. I used to like running, and now I have my cycle back and everything. But I wanted to join a half marathon, which I always wanted to do and everything. But I realized I'm not going to do it, because it's probably the worst thing you can do when you're suffering or when you're sensitive to HA. And I know I will just like be not listening to my hunger cues and everything. And I'm not advanced enough in my recovered state to be able to do that. I think once you've recovered and you really have control of or have a better understanding of what your body needs and your food intake and everything, maybe you could go back to doing these kind of competitions. But for me, I know I'm just not right there, so it's better to just leave it out, you know. I do recommend some kind of gentle movement if you like it. You know, I'm a person, I kind of need to move in a way. And as I said, also to keep your bones and your skeletal muscle structure healthy, it's good to do some very focused weight training or body weight training is ideal. I do some kind of like mix of yoga, Pilates routines. I do yoga because I love it and I do it in a group, which gives me the oxytocin of the sharing with other people, other girls actually, which is nice, and it really relaxes my head. So it's kinds of movements that activate your parasympathetic system, which is the one that is to relax and rest. And as I said, just to keep your muscles healthy and strong, but keeping cortisol down. Then my third point, which is something that I still have to, like, I put a big sticker on my door just to not forget it, and it's to eat a balanced breakfast. Yes, I come from intermittent fasting thing, and I think I completely preach that you should eat when you're hungry, and I don't think you should force yourself when you're not hungry, even in HA, but breakfast is an exception. I think you need to eat breakfast because otherwise you will get started with a day, and if you're like me, you have a full-time job or you're doing whatever, you're a busy person, then you know how we are, we will be like, oh yeah, okay, I will eat later, but then it gets later and later and later, and then you've had 3 meetings, you've done your yoga class, you've walked from the parking to the car to whatever, you haven't really done maybe a big HIIT class or whatever, but you've been moving a lot on an empty stomach, which is not good. And also if you like to, for example, drink tea or coffee or these kind of things, as I said, I don't recommend you to drink a lot of coffee, but maybe like 1 in the morning or whatever, which is okay, but you shouldn't eat it on an empty stomach because the cortisol release will be bigger. So I used to drink a lot of coffee in order not to eat, you know, and suppress my hunger, but now I tell myself, no, just eat a breakfast, and that's just much better. It really made a difference for me to regain my cycle. It was when I included breakfasts, and also in these breakfasts I would include carbs, which is something that I also restricted for a long time. So that's my second rule, which is food related, is don't exclude any big food groups like carbs. For the like low carb people out there, which is like super fashionable now, you need your carbs, healthy carbs, you know. As I said in the breakfast, I love to eat sourdough bread with avocado and stuff like that, or a chia pudding with nice granola and I don't know, whatever other healthy fats you want to put in it, or eggs is fantastic, but just eat your like 3 macros at breakfast if you can, because it will make a huge difference. Also, to fuel your body in the first part of the day is actually more important because it's when you're consuming much more energy. When you're at home, you're relaxing, and I don't know, if you want to eat a huge dinner, then go ahead, that's great. But it's like, I think it's less risky for HA recovery to eat a big breakfast and maybe a lighter dinner than the other way around. And this is one main healthy thing, no, that people always say. It's also super important to take care of your sleep, and if you eat a huge dinner, sometimes your sleep will get disrupted. So I still do recommend to eat only maximum 2-3 hours before your bedtime and not after that. So breakfast super important, and then sleep, which I've just touched upon, is my point number 4. I cannot say this enough, but your body, you are like as if you were sick. And when you're sick, what you need to do, you need to sleep. You know, when you're sick and you have a fever and you just go to bed in the middle of the day and sleep. Well, with HA recovery, it's funny. I realized that I needed a lot of sleep, while normally I'm not. I mean, I thought an adult person shouldn't sleep more than 8-9 hours, whatever. But I realized that sometimes, ideally you would sleep and not put an alarm and wake up naturally, feeling fully energized, feeling like, yes, I'm going to go for it. Of course, we have jobs, we have a time table that we need to respect. So not all of us can just sleep in like that, but I really take the weekends to sleep in, you know, and I had to also explain this to my inner circle, my family, my boyfriend, especially, like, listen, it's super important that you let me sleep. You know, it's not that I'm lazy or something, but I need to recover, and that's really when your body heals the most. So of course the quality of your sleep is super important. To me that was never a problem, because I really, during recovery and so I felt like I was extra tired or something, and it was good. I really gave my body that rest, and sometimes without counting, sometimes I would sleep 9-10 hours. Well, that's it, perfect then. And in the week I would have to go to bed super early, which is you need to just arrange your schedule in order that you prioritize these things. And sometimes you have to explain to other people, like, listen, I have to go to bed super early, but it's super important that you get your sleep and that you feel rested when you wake up. And otherwise, you should try to take a nap in the day and so. But you need to rest to heal. It's probably I don't know which one is most important. They're all important, but it's really a very important one also. And then I also would recommend you not to rush around. So we have this rushing syndrome nowadays that they say you're packed with appointments, you're always running from one place to the other, and people who tend to get a bit stressed because they want to be good at everything they do, and they're a little bit perfectionist. They care a lot about, giving a good prestation, about being there, about being as perfect as possible, like me, like most people with HA. We need to really consciously try to slow down a little bit and not rush. This will benefit you in any kind of way. If you have meetings, you have clients, you have any kind of job that is difficult, challenging in any kind of way, rushing will never, ever, ever in life help you. Just take your time, breathe, focus on what you're doing, and take your time to do this. Take your time to get to the places. Give yourself time so that you're not rushing. It's super important, because this will create, again, this, it will help you not activate this sympathetic system, which is the one that, which is the one of stress. So you will be a bit more calm, and your life will be much nicer, and it's important for HA also. I've realized the psychological aspect is much more important than we think it is. So try not to stress and make your schedule in a way so that you don't plan too many things in. Say no to things, because it's really important that you have your rest time. As I said, this is temporary. If you manage to recover and find a way to find a balance with your body, maybe you can go back to doing more things and a bit more challenging. And point number 5, I think it's important to have some kind of bigger project or a hobby that really touches you and that really fills you in, or maybe some kind of artistic vocation, or I don't know if you're an artistic person or not, but like for me, for example, I always was into music and singing, and my whole family has this, so it's really something that I've had from always. And like lately I was so much into this work mentality that I wasn't making any time for this, and I was so obsessed by also exercising and keeping kind of body weight and image that I would put this in the last place. But it's actually my passion, and my hobby is singing, is being doing music, playing the piano and everything. So now I realize that this has to have a place in my life, because it's something that gives me energy, it fills me in. Also to have some kind of bigger project, help people, for example, doing these videos. Sounds a bit stupid maybe, but it really gives me a lot of energy, a lot of purpose. And when you guys put your comments down there, it just makes my day. And it's just people, we are made to share and to have a bigger purpose. So whatever that is, find it, because everyone has that. You cannot just only do, well, maybe you really love your job, which that would be great. I mean, if you can make your passion of your job, but still it's nice to do something that you just try to find something that you do only for the sake of it, that you really enjoy doing, and that gives you energy, fulfillment, and pleasure and satisfaction when you do it. That's super important. And it also will distract you from your goal of regaining your cycle, which sometimes gets such big thing in your life, and you get frustrated because you're not getting it back. So it's super important to have this kind of distraction. And also it will distract you when you start exercising less. You will have a lot of free time, so it's nice to fill it in with something meaningful for you, which will make you a much happier person. Also, it will make you more relaxed, and all of this will have an effect on your hormones and on creating the harmony in your body, creating the feeling of being safe that your body wants to ovulate and to regain your menstrual cycle back. So that's it, my friends, for now. Again, please give me a like, subscribe, give me your comments, and be healthy, be happy, and until next time, my friends.